Hi, I'm Megan from the High Country Food Hub, and we're here at the Patterson School with Sweet Dreams Patisserie, Colleen Feeney, and today she's going to show us how to make one of her specialty items. So yeah.
Hey guys, I'm really excited to be here, hanging out and kind of showing you some behind the scenes action of what I do here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make chocolate peanut butter cups featuring CW local chocolate and peanut butter that I made here in the kitchen. So really simple, really tasty. You could do it at home if you like, or you could just check them out at the food hub or the farmer's market. Okay, so before we get started, I'll just kind of walk you through the process of what we're going to do. This is my little peanut butter cup mold. It's made out of polycarbonate plastic. We're going to pour the chocolate in here and then dump it out and make like a nice little shell, and then fill it with peanut butter and some chocolate ganache. So before we pour the chocolate into that mold, we're going to go through a process that's called tempering the chocolate. And basically, chocolate is made up of a bunch of different fat crystals and particles, and they all melt and solidify at different temperatures. So if I were to just melt the chocolate and pour it into the mold here without cooling it down or doing anything to it, when it sets up hard, it won't be very shiny, and it'll be kind of like crumbly and brittle. And I actually have a little bit of an example right here. And so I don't know, I know you can't really hear, but you can kind of tell when I can see it's kind of like, it's not very shiny, it's streaky. So, and then this is the chocolate that Shane gives to me as is, and you can see it's shiny, and when I break it, it snaps nicely. It's more temperature stable. The chocolate that's not tempered, if you like touch it too much, handle it too much, it'll kind of start to melt in your fingers. So you really want to make sure you temper the chocolate first. It's got that nice snap, which is also satisfying when you eat it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I've actually already got some chocolate melting over there. Okay, so I've got my chocolate already melted here. As you can see, it's nice and melted. And so I'm actually gonna temp it. And with dark chocolate, when you melt it, the most important thing is that you get it completely melted, completely liquidy. But you want it to reach at least about 50 degrees Celsius. And so just definitely add that. You don't want it to get too hot because that can kind of mess up your tempering process. But now that it's melted and it's at the right temperature, I've got some pre-chopped up chocolate here, and this was the chocolate that Shane gave to me. It was already tempered. So when I pour it into this chocolate, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to cool this chocolate down, and it's also going to help kind of get that tempering process started. So it's going to help all those little fat crystals kind of like come together and be friends and come out nice and shiny in the end. So we're just gonna pour that in here. And at this point, I'm actually going to take it off the heat because I don't want the chocolate that I put in there to like get too warm. I just want the heat of the already melted chocolate to help melt the chocolate that I just poured in there. So we're just going to leave this to sit here for a little bit until the chocolate that I poured in there melts completely, and then we're going to let this cool down, and then we can pour the chocolate in the molds and go from there. Okay, so now our chocolate has cooled down to 28 degrees Celsius, which is around 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can actually see it's gotten just a little bit more viscous. And so now we're going to heat it up just a couple more degrees. And as I mentioned before, when you're tempering chocolate, there's all those fat crystals, and they melt and solidify at different temperatures. And basically, the main goal is to kind of get them all aligned in a general temperature range that they all kind of agree on. So that's what we're doing here. When we cool it down, and then we heat it back up just a little bit. You don't want to heat it up too much because it'll just take your chocolate at a temper and then it won't come out shiny again. So we're just gonna heat it up. It should just take not very long. We're only going up a couple degrees. So this is about ready. Let's check here. And now that we've heated it back up, we can go over and start making our chocolate shells. Okay, so now that our chocolate is at the right temperature, we're going to start making our shells. So, just going to ladle the chocolate in. Make sure all the cavities get filled up. Just gonna scrape some of this excess off. Just gonna give it a couple taps to kind of get some of those air bubbles out. Now we're just gonna tip it upside down like so. Drain some of that chocolate out. Give it a couple taps. Just clean it off because you'll be thanking yourself later. And we've got our shells. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to make this peanut butter filling. I've got my homemade peanut butter here. See, it's nice and creamy. And it's just agave syrup and a little bit of vanilla extract that's in there. And what's actually going to happen is, you can see like right now the peanut butter is pretty it's pretty loose. But what happens when you add sugar to the peanut butter, it kind of tightens it up a little bit. In some cases you might not want that, but in this case I do, because it makes it kind of more like that Reese's peanut butter filling. And then also, if you decide to instead of just popping the whole peanut butter cup in your mouth, if you want to bite half of it, it won't run all over the place, you know. And you could use any kind of sugar. You could do honey, you could do maple, powdered sugar even. I just like the agave because it's got a neutral flavor, and I really kind of want the peanut butter to shine here. So you can see it's all stirred up. And you can see that peanut butter got just a little bit tighter, you know. So that's exactly what we're looking for here, and this is all ready to go inside of our peanut butter cups. All right, so our chocolate shells have hardened up. You can see them right there, and now we are going to fill them with our peanut butter. So I've got my peanut butter in a piping bag here. If you don't have a piping bag, you could actually use a Ziploc bag and just cut the corner off and you've got a piping bag. So just gonna fill these a little more than halfway because I'm gonna save a little bit of room for the chocolate ganache that we're gonna put on top of there. So now we're gonna make the chocolate ganache that's gonna go on top of the peanut butter to finish off our peanut butter cups. I've got equal parts by weight here, heavy cream and chocolate. And I'm just heating up the cream here. It's about ready just to a boil. And then I'm gonna pour it over the chocolate to melt, and we'll whisk it together and it'll be ready to go. So we'll just let that sit there for a minute and let the chocolate melt, and then we'll whisk it together. Okay. All right, our chocolate ganache is ready to go into our peanut butter cups. that cavity, leave a little bit of space at the top. Just like that. And that's gonna really finish these off with a nice, just creamy, luscious texture, and really make sure that that local chocolate shines through. Okay, so now we're going to put the chocolate top on top of these guys. We've got them filled with our peanut butter and our chocolate ganache. This is where it gets kind of fun. I've got this Valentine's Day themed transfer sheet here. This is just colored cocoa butter, and it comes off when the chocolate is warm. It just comes right off onto that chocolate. So you'll see this pattern on top of the peanut butter cups. So what I'm gonna do now is just lay my mold down in here. Just gonna carefully pour the chocolate in. Just make sure they all get filled. Just gonna lay this right on top here. I'm going to use my scraper here to get a nice flat top. You don't want to apply too much pressure because you don't want to break the tops of those shells, and you don't really want to push any of that filling that's in there out. Just want a nice flat top. These will just pop them in the fridge and let them set up, and then they will be ready to eat. Okay, our peanut butter cups have set up in the fridge, and it is time to unmold them. We're just gonna take this transfer sheet off, and you can see how beautifully that transferred onto the chocolate. Now, just tap, and they fall right out. There's always that one straggler. Just gotta give him a little motivation. There he goes. Alright. And here you have it. We have our chocolate peanut butter cups.